For a genre that's built on lyrics about arrogance and bravado, hip-hop's biggest stars are seemingly music's most insecure. As stated by Kanye West on his prolific track, All Falls Down, the people highest up got the lowest self-esteem. Not a stranger to the trappings of insecurity himself, in 2018, West admitted to going under the knife for liposuction surgery after being scrutinized by TMZ's paparazzis.
I was on opioids. I was addicted to opioids. I had plastic surgery because I was trying to look good for y'all. I got liposuction because I didn't want y'all to call me fat.
From lipo to Brazilian butt lifts, lip injections, and recently both Big Sean and Drake have come under fire for having surgery that grafted them permanent six-pack abs. Once a genre that embraced the differences that made each of us unique, the Notorious Big proudly boasted that he was fat, black, and ugly. It seems nowadays, rappers shy away from the unique quirks in search of universal mass appeal and fear of persecution from internet audiences. In this video, I will touch on the dramatic shifts and the cultural zeitgeist that made entertainment figures, but specifically rappers, change from being prideful about their appearance to caving in to societal expectations of beauty. Originally, the genre was comprised of artists who accepted, embraced, and even championed their physical flaws and perceived physical defections. Perhaps because the genre hadn't yet broken through the doors of mainstream acceptance, rappers didn't feel the need to conform to the pressure of public appearance. Of course, there were rappers who made no qualms about exuding their confidence and reveling in the success that came with their rap fame. But there were also rappers who were more open on record about their struggles with self-consciousness. On Lauryn Hill's Doo-Wop, from her critically acclaimed album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, she raps that she too has fell victim to being caught in a toxic relationship, reminding the listener,
Lauren is only human. Don't think I haven't been through the same predicament before to sit inside your head.
These lines remind the listener that while the artist is the artist, they are not exempt from the tribulations that everyday people go through. They are just as vulnerable, fallible, and susceptible to failures and mistakes just like everyone else. In that same vein, on Complex Sneaker Shopping, when asked why he keeps his style so simple, rap artist Vince Staples responded that he doesn't want his fans to feel like they're beneath him because he can afford to wear more expensive clothing.
I remember once this kid, I had some Jordan 4s, like, old as hell, like crack. They cracked the other day. I bet him on it's funny, but this kid was in old kind of shoes. I told him, he was like, man, I wish I had those shoes.
Yeah.
And it made me feel like shit, you know, like 13, 14-year-old kids. So my whole thing, I didn't ever want to have on nothing that could make somebody who was considered a fan or, you know, kid that looked up to anything like that, to feel like they were beneath me.
Really?
So I had some shit. I got some shit. It's like I couldn't do that to those kids. You feel me? Because I feel like when somebody sees you and they look up to you and they need to aspire to be something, it should look as reachable as possible. It's kind of stupid, but
Nowadays, it seems like rappers actively want to feel superior to their listeners. They go out of their way to remind them how much more successful they are, how much more money they have, and how much more luxurious their lifestyle is. Oftentimes, this isn't even done in a motivational way or something to aspire to. Just simply, I'm rich and you're not. There's been a running joke on Twitter that certain rappers, particularly those from Detroit like Babyface Ray or Baby Smooth, rap like they're disgusted their listeners broke. Detroit rappers specifically have carved out a lyrical and sonic niche when plagiarized is instantly recognizable as an imitation of the Detroit sound. But these artists should be mindful. When bragging about the wealth they've accumulated, they should also be aware of potentially alienating their fans by shitting on them in their songs. One of the biggest victims of the scrutiny that comes with being a rapper are the women of hip-hop, caught between the two worlds of wanting to make good music, but potentially having to sexualize themselves to be commercially viable. While certainly not the case for all female rappers, one of hip-hop's biggest stars, regardless of gender, attested to the external pressure to acquiesce her look to the male gaze when Lil Wayne and his entourage mockingly teased her. She said in an interview with Joe Budden that hanging around Wayne and his cavalcade of women with big butts made her feel like she wasn't good enough in her own body. She also added that Wayne and his entourage's constant teasing about her small frame at the time further exacerbated her own self-image issues.
Just was around them all the time, and I was like sister. I was like the little sister with Wayne and Mac and all these boys, you know, Jay Mills and Gutta and all of them. And all I would hear them talking about is big butts. And I didn't feel complete or good enough good as those girls, because I'm like, oh my God, this is what you're supposed to look like in the rap culture, and I don't look like that.
Ironically, while trying to compensate for her own self-consciousness about her image, she too perpetuated the same ideal body image attuned to the male gaze by inspiring the next generation of women to begin thinking that having a big butt is a beauty standard that all women should aspire to. In the late 90s and early 2000s, it was common for female characters in TV and movies to ask, does this dress make my butt look big?
Vanessa,
Yeah?
you think these pants make my butt look big?
Yeah, they do.
Perfect.
While not entirely on Minaj, other female celebrities like Kim Kardashian began contouring their bodies to formulate this new beauty standard of being curvy and thick. While I'm sure this empowered many female listeners that already matched this body image, the ones whose body didn't fit the same way, the ones whose bodies didn't fit, felt the same way Nicki felt when in rooms with Lil Wayne and his posse. Less commonly discussed is how male rappers too feel self-conscious and insecure about themselves, all the while rapping about their confidence and braggadocio. When Kanye rapped about being self-conscious on All Falls Down, this level of vulnerability was pretty pioneering, as this level of honesty went against the hyper-masculine norms of hip-hop. For men, and black men in particular, being that candid can lead to a perception of being fragile or weak. In our survival of the fittest society, being perceived as having weak traits can lead to ostracization or being outcasted. So often, people will mask their insecurities, and in the case of rappers, they'll mask it with their wealth, women, and in the most tragic cases, with drugs. As Kanye says, things that cover up what's inside. While some, like Kanye, are candid about their decision to go under the knife, most rappers secretly hide feelings of shame for their surgeries. For males already being held to outside societal pressure to suppress their insecurities about the surgeries they had to cover up their vulnerabilities, in their mind will be the antithesis of the hyper-masculine world of hip-hop. In reality, perhaps people seeing their favorite artists take the necessary steps to have surgery done would destigmatize the notion that having corrective surgery, particularly those that make you healthier or more confident in oneself, will be a good thing for male listeners to see. Alas, an ultra-macho field of hip-hop, a genre that is predicated on who is the coolest, the idea of having insecurities, let alone having surgeries to fix those insecurities, is not seen as being particularly cool. Ironically though, there are surgeries in hip-hop that are seen as less embarrassing to have. For example, there have been a number of rappers that have gotten surgery to fix their receding hairlines. The most egregious and most mocked examples are that of Akon and Tory Lanez. But there are some that are more subtle. Artists like Tyga, Chris Brown, Machine Gun Kelly, and even Tyler the Creator. Although not a rapper, hip-hop adjacent LeBron James made noticeable improvements to his hairline after being the butt of countless online jokes during his tenure with the Miami Heat. Go on to show that even celebrities at the apex of their profession are not immune to the pressures of insecurity. While most chose not to publicly disclose their decision to get surgery done, as they are embarrassed about having a procedure done to cover up a perceived flaw, some artists like Timbaland are open about their hair transplant journeys. Another appearance change that has become commonplace in hip-hop is having dental work done. In a genre built on flaunting wealth and flexing cash, it should be no surprise that grills and dental implants is yet another way for artists to exhibit their status. What originally started as a cheap way for people to fill their cavities, rappers flipped this on its head entirely and adopted wearing grills to take ownership over what was formerly a sign of poverty to become empowering. However, there's been a new trend that has relatively recently emerged. Those who feel insecure about their teeth and want to skip over the long and arduous process of getting braces immediately upon getting money invest in veneers. Getting veneers are essentially the process by which one shaves down their real teeth and puts on custom-made porcelain shells that go on top of the real teeth. While the result of permanent veneers are undeniable, in the long term, they might cause pain and irritation, as exemplified by TV personality and social media star Winter Blanco.
I have severe TMJ now because of the veneers that Smile Dental Center did. They lost my bite. I have severe TMJ. I got my teeth redone. It didn't fix it. that was another $30,000.
And an industry where one's fame can quickly rise and fall overnight, entertainers often feel pressure to maintain their longevity any way they possibly can. Hip-hop is one particular field where looks and perception are integral to job security and being able to provide for oneself. Combine that with the fact that there is always constant threat of a new, more youthful person waiting to take their jobs, celebrities will do anything to keep themselves looking young. Facelifts, rhinoplasty, breast augmentation, liposuction, Botox, and dermal fillers show that celebrities will pay any price to keep themselves looking permanently youthful. And a genre as competitive as hip-hop, where a hot new rapper can dethrone the old guard at any moment, staying relevant with the younger generation has almost become more important for rappers as the bars themselves. We can currently see this being played out with Nicki Minaj. Once the new it girl in hip-hop, she has since somewhat fallen to the wayside for new shiny toys like Cardi B, Meg Thee Stallion, and the numerous other female rappers who have become popular recently. No longer the critical or commercial darling she was in her prime, her envy and jealousy has turned into bitterness and spilled over into a feud with some of the new women in hip-hop. She was recently embroiled in the Twitter feud with singer SZA, demonstrating that no amount of money or accolades will ever quell the desire to remain youthful. The irony is that Nicki clashed publicly with Lil' Kim, her stylistic foremother, who herself was a pioneer in owning and sexualizing her image, thus repeating the same cycle of competition and insecurity she once fell victim to.